The time is 6:30 and a quorum being present, I call this meeting to order. We don't have any meeting minutes to go over, so we can go right to agenda item A, request for a certificate of compliance, Wamisit Lanes LLC, 434 Main Street, Assessors Map 22, Lot 69, DP file number 305-1165. And could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Hi, Tom Schomburg of Civil Design Consultants.
Can you bring us up to date?
Yep, so we were previously before the board at the last meeting on September 6th. It was requested that the applicant clean silt out of the erosion controls. That's been done, and a memo with photos was provided. Additionally, the conservation agent visited the site today to confirm this in person. So with that said, if there's no more comments or requests from the commission, we'd like to request issuance.
All right, any questions or comments from the commission? Not hearing any. Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
Yep, so I did go to the site today. The sediment that was referenced at the last meeting has since been cleaned up. So my last comment is, it's up to the commission if they want to issue the certificate of compliance with the ongoing condition of executing the long-term operation and maintenance program, which is a document that was submitted with a notice of intent for the stormwater management system. But other than that, no comments.
And are you comfortable with that long-term maintenance plan?
Yes.
All right. If there's no further questions or comments, could I have a motion to approve this request for a certificate of compliance?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is B, a public hearing, a request for determination of applicability. Joseph Carbone, 110 Breckenridge Road, Assessors Map 111, Lot 69. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Yep. Joseph Charbonnier.
And could you tell us what you're planning on doing?
I just have a 100-foot pine that's starting to encroach on my house, and I'd just like to have it removed along with some trimming of another tree, but the second tree won't be removed, just trimmed away from the house.
All right. And it's just that one tree. Yep. All right, any questions or comments from the commission?
Joe can read his stuff.
Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, so I did do a site visit. It's a really tall pine tree close to the dwelling. It's about 10 to 20 feet away from nearby wetlands. But nonetheless, I don't have a problem with cutting this one tree. That being said, the commission may issue a negative determination of applicability while considering the following conditions. 1, no stump grinding is allowed unless all debris is taken off site. Number 2, all tree debris shall be taken off site and properly disposed of. Number 3, any heavy machinery used for the tree removal shall be appropriately staged in an upland area. And number 4, the contractor or the homeowner must photograph the area after work has completed and send said photos to the conservation agent to verify work was completed in accordance with this determination.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, this is a public hearing, so if there's anybody from the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. But not seeing anybody get up, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination of applicability?
I'll make that motion as discussed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item C, public hearing, a request for determination of applicability, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of Ginsberg Realty Group, LLC, 162, 166, 170 Pond Street, Assessors Map 30, Lot 79, 80, and 81 respectively, and 305 and 309 Pine Street, Assessors Map 30, Lots 83 and 82 respectively. Could you please introduce yourselves for the record?
How you doing? Matt Ginsberg, proponent.
And then Tom Schomburg of Civil Design Consultants.
Could you give us an overview of what you plan on doing?
Yep, so we're here for this determination of applicability. This was originally brought before the board in 2020 under 180 Pond Street and was found to have a negative determination. This is essentially a refiling as the previous determination expires in October. The remaining work within the 100-foot buffer will only consist of construction of driveways, drainage, and then landscaping. Is there any other information I can provide it if needed?
What's that?
If there's any other information required, I can provide it as needed. But if there are any questions, I can answer them now.
Any questions or comments from the commission?
So, I'm sorry, so this was proposed before and approved and was just not built? Is that what you're saying? Did I follow that?
Yeah, the previous determination expired. Over the last couple of years, there was an existing building there and some utility work that needed to be done to service the 5 proposed houses. So that work's been done over the last 2 years. We're just getting around now to building the houses. So the first foundation's going in as we speak, and we're just kind of working our way around the loop there. So we're just kind of getting ahead of it when we pull permits for the 3 lots on Pond Street this winter, because the previous determination expired.
Thanks. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't here, so I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Is the Cultec chamber going to be maintained by the resident, the homeowner, whoever buys the property? I see, and the stormwater infiltration basin?
Correct, yeah, it'd be the responsibility of the homeowner, yep.
Okay, so that would be one of my order conditions, to make sure that's noted.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? If not, Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
Not really. I don't have any issues with this project, considering that it was previously approved 3 or so years ago under a negative determination. I would just say implement the sediment erosion controls as proposed on the site plan, and that's it.
Yep.
All right. If there are no, actually, before I go into that, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody from the public who would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion for a negative determination for this project as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now, D, E, F, and G and I will all be continued, so I'm going to go through those right now. Could I have a motion to continue public hearing, request for determination of applicability for Brendan Walsh, 6 Hillside Road, Assessors Map 89, Lot 135?
Mr. Chairman, I think this is the first time this project's been heard, so just opening up the public, I suppose,
Oh,
and then proceeding to continue.
all right, well, the applicant is not here, but I will open it up to the public if anybody wants to make any comments at this time. And I will, actually, the other ones have already been open, but I'll remind everybody when the time comes. But not seeing anybody get up, could I have a motion to continue this request for determination of applicability?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item E is also a public hearing, but they are choosing to continue, not seeing anybody rise. Could I have a motion to continue notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., Andover, Massachusetts, on behalf of Treehouse Brewing Company, Charlton, Massachusetts. So I'm just going to stop right now and realized I gave the option to, ask a question for this public hearing without actually telling anybody what it is. So Notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., Andover, Massachusetts, on behalf of Treehouse Brewing Company, Charlton, Massachusetts, 1879 Main Street, Assessors Map 84, Lot 18, DP file number 305-1185. I will give a moment for anybody in the public to rise, make a comment before continuing. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to continue this notice of intent?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, same deal with these next ones. This is a notice of intent, Bales Associates, Inc., Boston, Massachusetts, on behalf of Holton Bugby Company, Tewksbury, Massachusetts, 1600 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 112, Lot 4, DEP file number 305-1181. This is a public hearing. If anybody would like to make a comment, now is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody.
Can I make a comment? Is there any way to continue this, not necessarily to the next meeting, but the next meeting they'll attend?
Do we have a,
Because they've been on here for 3 or 4 straight meetings without even showing up.
is against our regulations? They should have been here to update us.
So sorry, is the request to have them come the next time?
It's just been a very long time, and if they need more time, I mean,
Not to interrupt, but should they at least reach out to you and tell us
Yeah,
their
so-
intent?
Yeah, so the reason why they've been continuing is because they're still getting comments from engineering on stormwater compliance.
Okay.
So it's just such a large project that every time they go through the iteration of waiting for engineering to get comments and then they supply something back, you have to go through a whole another process of
can we
review.
make the motion vaguer to be whenever they're ready to present? So it necessarily doesn't have to be on the next meeting? I just feel like we continue this over and over again. Or do you have to continuously put this on the meeting? Because we've continued people 2 meetings down the road or 3 meetings down the road.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to continue the notice of intent until the applicant is ready.
Before getting a second, well, I just want to know, because like for Vale Street, we had, it was such a long time that we had them resubmit abutter notifications. It doesn't sound like it's going to be that long of a time before they come back, but
Is this when they bounce it off our town engineering?
Yes.
The volley goes back and forth?
Yep. The motion has been made, I guess.
Motion's on the floor.
Yeah, I like that.
all right.
Saves ink, right.
So could I have a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
All those,
Gotcha.
all those in favor, please.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, so I will entertain another motion to that effect for public hearing, notice of intent, Bales Associates, Inc., of Boston, Massachusetts, on behalf of National Development, Newton, Massachusetts, 1600 Shawshene Street, Assessors Map 112, Lot 4, DEP file number 305-1182.
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, and then also, agenda item I is being continued, so I'll go out of order real quick. Public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of Dr. Nitesh Nahata, 1438 Main Street, Assessors Map 59, Lot 58, DP file number 305-1187. That is the property of, that's on or off of Serene Way, so if anybody's here for that one, that is being continued.
Is, this one's never even been presented to us yet, right?
No, it's been
No.
presented to the planning board, but not to us technically.
So is there any time frame of when it's coming in front of us? Because this is 3 meetings in a row now.
I don't know, but I know that there's some public interest in it, so I would hesitate at like continuing it to an arbitrary date. I can, if we continue it to the next one, I can ask for
Get a
more.
time frame
Yeah.
for the next time. Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to continue to the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, and now we are at Agenda item H, public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc. of Andover, Massachusetts, on behalf of Yvonne Cormier, Vale Street, Assessors Map 112, lots 23, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, DEP file number 305-1154.
Good evening, Jim Hanley, Civil Design Consultants. So we were here 2 or 3 weeks ago, give or take, and there's a couple of comments that the board had, but the overriding one was that we wanted to see the plan approved by the planning board and recorded before the commission would act, right? So brought the Mylar to planning on Monday night. They approved it through the A&R process. So basically, it's approved locally. So this is what's considered registered land, and we talked a little bit about this, but this is the parcel, the larger parcel is controlled by Land Court. So Land Court's process is a little different than what we typically do every day. So essentially, now that we have the plan in Mylar approved by the planning board, it now goes back to Land Court, right? And they do what's called a petitioner's plan. So it's like a two-step process here. That information has been forwarded back to Land Court, and we hope to have something in 60 days, give or take. We would like to try to see if there's a way that we could close this out, if you were agreeable to it and there was reasonable conditions that you could put on it to protect the commission. No lots can be sold until we get through this Land Court thing, and I think for the most part, there won't be any construction on it until we get through Land Court, right? We're hoping that's 60 days. But that pushes us right up against the end of the construction season, maybe, right? So we'd like to be able to deal with it now. And with that said, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
All right, any questions or comments from the commission?
Can I just, did you want to see this? Did you want to look at that?
Not at the moment, I guess.
Oh, okay, because you turn it just so we can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Same plan as last time. There's been no changes.
So any update, last time I asked if the applicant was willing to donate the rest of the land to open space. Was the response for that?
Yeah, they are.
They're going to,
Yes. If that's a condition that the commission wants to see, that the applicant's agreeable to it.
all right.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Joseph, do you have any questions or comments?
Just regarding that, is that, like, a condition, is your client willing for that to be a condition included in the order?
Sure, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm not sure the best way to do it. I don't know if it's like an open space lot that you guys get. I don't know if it's an easement. I don't think they really care because, again, there just isn't the real estate there to be able to carve out another lot. It'd still comply with the regulations, so,
All right.
yeah.
I don't know for certain, but it might have to, there are articles at town meeting to accept open space land
Okay.
under our conservatorship, I can't say that word right now, under our protection. But I don't see any reason why it would not go through that process.
Is it reasonable to maybe word the condition, if you guys are agreeable to it, to have a little bit of flexibility so that if it's either a lot that you guys want, you can do that, or we can put some sort of permanent easement on it or something, just so we don't get into a position where if somebody up the ladder doesn't really want to accept additional open space, we don't have an issue, we don't have to come back kind of thing. So like we'd agree to work with Joe to structure it any way that the town feels is appropriate.
Is there, I guess, is there a time frame for when all of these will be completed by? Because if there's typically a 3-year, it we'd have plenty of time to go through that before closing this entirely out.
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, we best case scenario, we'd have 60 days-ish to get something back from land court, then they'd have to close on and purchase this property, then they'd have to build, so it's probably a springtime construction job, so realistically, like, timeframes would be like, about a year on the short side, I would think, maybe they can do a little bit better than that, and then on the long side, I think 3 years, I mean, we're only talking 3 lots, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So I'm not sure Joe, do you want to?
I was just gonna say, I think the language that's used here is kind of important as far as the lot that's being donated. For example, although we would want to protect that for conservation purposes, I think there's a little bit more due diligence involved as far as like accepting a piece of land to the town. So I would want it to be conditioned in a way where, like, as long as the town is also agreeable to take it, for whatever reason, like, there
Yeah,
may be like a phase 1 assessment or something
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah,
so.
right, and that's why I think maybe having a little bit of flexibility, like.
Yeah.
The condition, could be something along the lines that the applicant, will put a permanent open space easement or, I guess, donate the lot to open space, and it really would come down to what you guys want. I mean, if we can't do anything with it, it doesn't, so.
Okay, so I feel like it should be the current owner of that parcel shall donate, put an easement on, or via conservation restriction.
Sure.
Give that parcel of land to the town, provided that the town also wants to receive it for the use of conservation protection, something to that effect. Does that sound good to the commission?
Yeah, I don't have any issues with that. The only, I'm comfortable accepting that as a conditioning. This is a public hearing, so we can, I'll be opening it up to the public, but like, you already said that land court's going to take at least 60 days.
Yes.
Land court can be tough, we all.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
so we've been through step 1, which has taken us about 12 months. So this is step 2, which they say is a little bit quicker, but it literally goes to the bottom of the pile and when they get to it,
Yeah.
right? So there's no definitive time frame like 30 days or anything like that.
Because if we continue this to the next meeting to give, the town more time to consider this, we could do that, but I think I would rather put it under, just vote on it now, and we can get everything drafted.
As long as we have the language of provided
Yeah.
that we want to accept it.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I think that's
Right.
totally fine.
Right, and then the other condition would be that we would record the plan once received by
Right.
land court. Yep.
All right, so if there's no further discussion or questions from the commission, this is a public hearing. If there's anybody from the public who would like to make any comments, now is the time to do so. Do you mind moving the easel so I can see the podium? And just please introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Mark Pileski, 136 Vale Street. So I have so could you kind of just quickly go over, because it's kind of hard to tell when we're sitting here, we can't really see a whole lot. So there's three houses going in here? Is that true? And I'm not sure what land is being donated. Is it this? Or is it all
Yeah,
this here?
so,
Yeah, so it's that part, the first part where you pointed, and then it wraps around in the rear.
If you pull the first page down, it might help out.
Okay.
It would be this large.
So, okay, so, yeah, because a little, okay, so everything along 93 out to the tracks, pretty much, and all the way back, pretty much to the old stagecoach, is that about right?
Is there a lot number that associated with that?
21? Former lot 21, no?
Right, so it's lot 63, which is 13.87 acres.
Okay, so just for the record, that's the lot that
So,
would be,
so basically, it's just these three pieces of land that are going to be developed, and everything else is going to be donated. Now, open spaces, conservation, is that true? Nothing's, it's always going to be wetlands and undevelopable? Or is that,
yeah, it would be for the purposes of conservation and open
Okay.
space.
all right, thank you. No more questions.
Is that plan slightly different, that first page slightly different than the one with the houses drawn on it? Because it says 13.89 acres.
Yeah, like literally like hundredths of an acre difference. So-
Yeah, I just noticed
So
it.
that's the plan that land court approved, that the town
Okay.
approved. The plan before that was what we came in a year ago, so once they tightened all the property
Gotcha,
lines up,
okay.
like, literally getting down to hundreds. Yeah.
I just had it open exactly on my
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah, of course, yeah.
and could you just introduce yourself for the record?
Michael Taylor from Vale Street also. When last meeting, this was called Lot 4, I think? Is
Fair, yeah.
that the new designation you were using? Yes?
I think we referenced it as Lot 4, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is, once this land gets donated and is open space land, what's the impact to the abutters? Does that mean like anyone who's now abutting this space can't use the back 40 of their land or something?
I don't know the specifics of open space, but it wouldn't be private property. It would be town-owned property, so you couldn't just, you couldn't just go and do whatever you want there, but it's meant to be
No, I
for
mean-
open space.
The next 10 feet, which is my property, is there now, if I want to touch that 10 feet, do I have to come here and ask your permission or do anything?
It's not like wetlands where there's the boundary of the wetlands that it's not in our jurisdiction in that sense. I don't know about anything like that for open space. I don't believe there is, but,
Okay, well, I mean, there's always these side effects you don't expect. Okay, thank you.
So, one more question. So what happens if the town doesn't want the property? Do we come back and reconvene and talk about stuff, or, I mean, I'm not sure why you wouldn't want it, but,
So,
I don't think I've ever seen the town not take it.
yeah, that's,
well, I'm just asking, because it's,
Yeah.
it's an option, right?
If that were the case, and we could write it into the condition that there would be a permanent open space easement or something to that effect, right? So that it would remain unbuildable. So if the town doesn't, at the end of the day, we're going to donate like 65, 75% of the lot. We're going to call it unbuildable. You guys tell us how you want us to do it. If you don't want it, that's fine. There's other
If you
ways
don't
to
want
do
it, I'll
it.
take it, okay? No.
That I'm not sure
I
we're
think
willing to
that's how it
do.
I'm okay with it. I already have a big enough lawn to cut, but.
so, like, for conservation restrictions, though, that would be like a deeded to, on that parcel, but it may not necessarily mean that the ownership changes. So do you know if your client is willing to still own it? If that were ever because for whatever reason,
Yeah,
worst
no,
case-
obviously they're going to prefer that the town owns it, right?
Okay, okay.
Because then it's not a liability for them, right? So that would be the preference.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to defer to the previous language that I used before to describe how to structure that, with reference to Lot 4 on the plans that were provided with the notice of intent, and this site plan presented here, which was approved by the planning board.
Correct.
I think I have a copy of it, maybe, electronically,
Yeah, we'll
but
give-
if you want to
we'll get
just,
you one.
yeah.
Sure.
Send that over. And that would be, the lot and boundaries reference for what's going to be subject to being deeded over to the town or some other effect. But in regard to the actual project itself, outside of that parcel, Lot 4, I just wanted to read some conditions if an order were to be issued. So first, I guess I want to address the other comments that were brought up at the last meeting, which were, Evan, I think you had some comments about like the storm text and the culvert.
Yeah.
Want to have a chance to rehash that?
So essentially, ownership of all that goes to, so what is it? Lot 2 gets the ownership of the culvert, and then Lot 1, 2, and 3 get ownership of their individual storm tech systems and any GI that exists.
Okay. All right. So if the commission were to issue an order of conditions approving the project, they may consider the following conditions, which is standard conditions number 1 through number 4 and number 9 through number 19. The following special conditions, which is number 1, sediment control shall consist of a 12-inch diameter compost filter tube. Number 2, the conservation agent may approve of alternative equivalent sediment controls. Number 3, the location of the perimeter sediment control shall be field surveyed prior to installation. Number 4, orange snow fencing or similar shall be installed prior to the perimeter sediment controls and along the limit of work, such as the proposed tree line as shown in the approved site plan. The snow fencing will act as a clear limit of work during construction. The orange snow fencing must be installed prior to any construction activity. Number 5, I think. Sediment controls and the orange snow fencing must be installed even prior to vegetation clearing. If there are damages to snow fencing or sediment controls, they must be immediately repaired after vegetation clearing. So sometimes developers want to clear the trees prior, so I'd rather just do the site visit, get all the sediment controls intact before. Number 7, I think. The commission may consider having the builder place conservation signs along the 25-foot no disturb zone or similar. The design of the conservation sign shall be obtained from the commission and shall be posted on pressure-treated wood. So I would recommend that to be included into the order. So say like one sign every 50 feet or so, if the commission is willing. And then number 8 addresses the storm text, which was previously discussed, and the culvert, which was also previously discussed. So I guess I would ask for clarity for the Conservation Commission on the 25-foot no disturb zone signs being placed. If they thought that's necessary, if they want them there. It's up to you guys.
I think they're necessary. I would say the spacing as your discretion when you're in the field, Joe.
I agree.
That's it for me.
All right. If there's no further discussion from the commission and no further discussion from the public, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent Civil Design Consultants, Inc. on behalf of, I'm looking at the wrong one, notice of intent civil design consultants, Inc. of Andover, Massachusetts, on behalf of Yvonne Cormier, Vale Street Assessors Map 112, lots 23, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, DB file number 305-1154, as discussed at this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, excuse me, I have one more question. So this has all been approved now, right?
Technically, it's under those conditions that we discussed, but
Okay. So,
I don't see us coming back here if all goes according to plan.
okay, so all I ask is that if there's additional meetings that we get included, or do we have to look at agenda meetings every week?
They won't be back before Conservation Commission without
Yeah.
notice. They won't be back in front of this board without notice.
I'm sorry, what?
They won't be back in front of this board without notice.
So
Yes.
we will get notice that there's,
Yes.
because we got notice last March, it went till September, and then we got a notice 3 weeks before, which is nice. And that's all we're asking for. If we reconvene on this topic, we'd like to know about it.
On the topic of the open space parcel?
But just anything to do with that parcel, if there's a problem.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little ignorant, I don't truly
No.
understand the whole process, so.
So there wouldn't really be a mechanism that would require them to notify abutters? Like, it's not like they're proposing another application or anything like that, because they just presented that, but the only thing I can think of is if there was like an enforcement order issued on the lot for during construction.
Okay.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be notifying abutters about that, but if you give me your name and email address, if that ever happens, I could email you.
Okay, just, I'd like to stay informed. I've been
Yeah.
staying informed for 40 years, okay?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, and the reason why you got the last set of notifications is because when we continued it from last year, that was under the
right,
condition
so
that they
this is no
do
longer
that.
being continued, it's closed?
Yeah,
It's closed.
it's considered closed, so we can't compel them to notify you
Okay.
in any additional way at this point, unfortunately.
Okay.
But, we will certainly make an effort to let everybody know if
Okay,
it comes back.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Was that a 5-0 vote, by the way?
Yeah.
I believe so. All right. Where are we? That was H. We're at J, right? Yeah. Agenda item J, public hearing, notice of intent, Norse Environmental Services, Inc., on behalf of Robert Stevens, 44 California Road, Assessors Map 82, Lot 19, DP file number 305-1188.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Doug Lee, Land Engineering and Environmental Services.
Thank you.
You guys do the short straw tonight, or anyone didn't come, so they sent me instead. The engineer and the surveyor on the project. For notice of intent for Robert Stevens at 44 California Road. This is at the end of California Road. For the, remind the board, I don't commission, I'm not sure how many were members back in 2019, but this project received an order of conditions at that time. There was actually a request for determining, ANRAD done before that, and then received an order of conditions on April 5th of 2019 to build a single-family house with utilities and a driveway. It's public water and sewer out at the site, so there's no septic system. The work was started on the project, and it was designed to go on those helix piers what they put in the ground, and those were installed. The site was cleared, the erosion control is up, the DEP sign, and there's some other signs up there protecting the buffer area, and there's an orange construction fence and wattles around the site. And that's where it got to when somebody noticed the order of conditions was going to expire, and that we didn't get back in time to extend it, so we're back to reapply for a new order of conditions. The site has BVW, floodplain. The whole site is within the floodplain for the Shawshene River. The Shawshene River runs behind the property, but the floodplain comes up to the roadway. There's riverfront, obviously associated with the Shawshene River. The whole project is in the inner riparian, the first 100 feet. The lot existed back in 1907. That's when it was created on a subdivision plan, so it pre-exceeds the Riverfront Act. So by the regulations, they're allowed to disturb up to 5,000 square feet, which is basically the building envelope that is on the plan, 5,000 square feet. The lot is 36,000 square feet as it exists. The project meets the BVW. There's no disturbance within the 25 feet. The proposed house is over 50 feet from the wetland. There is a deck on the back of the house, as is proposed. It's a small house to fit on the lot and to meet the requirements. 26 by 36 with the deck along the back. The proposed hydrant, the water line was extended and there was a hydrant installed right at the beginning of the lot as part of the previous approval. There's an alternative analysis that was submitted in the notice of intent, basically evaluating 4 alternatives. One is to move the house to the north, which, I mean, none of them get it out of the riverfront, and they've just moved it closer to the wetlands. So the alternative is really, it's as far away from the wetlands as we can. They went to the zoning board for a variance before coming to conservation last time, and we got a variance for the front setback to 16.5 feet. So they've already pursued that avenue and reduced the front setback. The side setback is 7.5 feet, so it's pulled as far away from the wetlands as we can get it on the lot. It's really the smallest house that is feasible and to still be sellable, marketable. There we go. And like I said, the pilings, the helix pilings are already in. So that's where the site stands. I went out there today, and I was glad to see that all the water from the river is actually back behind, mostly behind the wetland flags, but it's all definitely back. It hasn't come onto the property or onto California Road in that area. It was crossing Brown Ave on the way there, but that's a little bit of ways from here. So there's a little bit of floodplain filling required for the steps. The front steps are going to be metal. So first we're looking at building timber, wood steps like a deck, but the applicant previously agreed to put metal steps on because that reduces the material in the floodplain altogether. The pilings will keep the house up above the floodplain elevation. Total floodplain volume to be filled is only a little less than 7 cubic feet. And then the whole area for the driveway is being graded down to provide 225 cubic feet of additional storage compensation for the little bit that's being filled. We got a DEP file number and they had no comments. So I think that's everything in a nutshell. Ready for questions.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission? Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
So an important part about this project is that there was already an order of conditions issued to do this exact project.
Yeah.
It had just expired, and so now they're refiling because I can't sign on a building permit with an expired order of conditions. That being said, I would basically just stick with, if an order of conditions is to be issued, just whatever conditions were applied to the previous one, to just copy that and paste it into this one. The only thing I would ask for some clarification on, because I wasn't involved with the original permitting process, is there's 2 tables provided in the application where it says the floodplain volume that's being filled.
Yeah.
And it gives half-foot increments at what elevations are being filled.
Right.
And then, so how the regulations are, it's like whatever incremental amount of fill, you're supposed to replace that same amount at that same elevation.
Yeah,
So I just noticed that all of this comp flood storage is placed at 85.5 feet and lower, even though there's filling above that.
right.
So previously, was that just saying like, this is really a small amount, so it's fine type of thing?
It was saying it's really a small amount, and there's no place on the lot where it's above those elevations. So we have
Oh.
no place on the lot where it's up at 87, so we can't really compensate
Oh, I see.
for the
Okay,
fill that's being placed
okay, I see.
at 80, which is part of the reason they went with the metal stairs to really, I mean, you're talking 7 cubic feet.
That's interesting. That's fine. It is it's a pretty small amount, less than 7 cubic feet, but I was just curious. Other than that, I don't have any other comments outside of the fact that I would just apply the same conditions from the previous one to this one.
You're comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. If there's no further questions from the commission, this is a public hearing, and anybody who would like to rise and make a comment, this is the time to do so. Not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Have a great night.
Agenda item K, hearing, public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of soldiers on Veterans Village, the 8th, LLC, 1624 Main Street, Assessors Map 72, Lot 35, DEP file number 305-1189.
Jim Hanley, Civil Design Consultants.
Peter Graham, Soldier On.
So we're here to talk about those rascally beavers that we have in the wetlands that are kind of causing us a lot of heartache and problems here. So we filed this notice of intent on behalf of our abutter, who is kind enough to sign off on the application. There is a existing beaver dam that the beavers constructed over the last 3 years, give or take. And so we provided you with some imagery of where that beaver dam is relative to our site, and then how significant the impact has been. So when we originally had the ANRAD approved, I think it was 2011, we then went through the entire design process between 17, 18, 19, give or take. Never really had a problem. And then over the last, I'd say 18 months, give or take, between the significant rains we've gotten and the activity of the beavers, we've been on the receiving end of a lot of the water that comes out of the wetlands before it gets to the stream culvert crossing. So we're here tonight in front of you to ask for permission to allow us to install a beaver device, which essentially is a standpipe that sits in a cage with a flexible ADS pipe below the water line that goes through the beaver dam that allows us to draw it down.
So it goes directly through the actual dam that the beavers...
On top of through, where we can find a spot where we're not going to destroy the dam, but will allow us to draw the water down.
All right, any questions or comments from the commission?
Do we have these in other places in town?
We actually have one on this lot. right? That
Oh,
was
already.
installed at some point.
Yeah.
That has failed. And we're using a vendor, they're called Beaver Solutions, that has done work in Tewksbury. Joe is familiar with their work. Yeah, we have, they are around town, and there's actually one on the lot. It's just jammed up. It's
Oh, okay.
full of junk, and is what they do.
There's a lot around town.
Other,
It's how you like, it's part of the long-term success of many culverts in town. And just, there's a lot of beavers in town, there's a lot of beaver dams in town, so the long-term solution, this is really regarded as like the most effective long-term solution, because if you breach the dam, the beavers are pretty resilient, they're gonna come back and just, cause the same issue, whereas this essentially is deceiving them, where it's really lowering the water level when they don't really know it. So, like I said, regarded as the best, like, long-term solution currently. Yeah.
I mean, so this is the first time I remember hearing about a new one, but Joe, there are, you would consider there's many throughout town?
Yeah, there's many, usually this comes to the commission as an emergency, because it's usually after a rainy season where this water is like flooding out people's properties, or the waters are entering people's homes, or causing a threat to human health and safety. The reason why this is under a notice of intent is because that threat to human health and safety didn't exist, so then there's a requirement to go through a formal filing procedure. But it's the contractor that's being used to install it is the same one that we've seen before, same procedures as before. That's why, I guess I lost it now.
Well, Joe looks that up. I don't have a problem with this, so I just got a technical question. Is this a permanent installation, or is this temporary?
We leave it in, yeah.
Do they really use 3 cinder blocks to hold down the whole pipe?
They
That's
use cinder blocks, how many they're gonna need, that, I
So they
couldn't
just
tell you.
put cinder blocks on top of the pipe and that stays?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So if the commission were to issue an order of conditions for this project, so the contractor has some useful guidance on what the installation procedure is like. And so I would want to reference those documents as part of the order, which is this document that was provided to the commission. It's titled Flexible Pond Leveler. And then the second one is the installation procedure for a flexible pond leveler. So I would just attach those 2 documents to the order. And that's it. I would also want to add like an operation maintenance provision to the order, so that even after it's installed, throughout the 3 years, like if you guys want to replace a portion of it or do some sort of maintenance activity, just letting the Conservation Commission know about it, having a conversation, but having it be okay to do under this order, so that we don't have to go through this process again. As long as the commission is, understands what is being proposed in that maintenance and et cetera.
What happens after the 3 years if there was a need for maintenance? Does it come back before?
So you could, in perpetuity, either extend the order, or you could, once it's complete, you could request a certificate of compliance, and then there's the ongoing conditions that can be associated with it. So you could, in theory, the commission and the applicant could always reference that certificate of compliance, which has the ongoing conditions of the operation and maintenance of that, similar to the stormwater maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Just had one more question. So it says there's potential to relocate the beavers. Are they relocating them to another spot in Tewksbury that could cause problems?
You can't relocate beavers.
Yeah.
You can't move them.
Yeah, I don't think that's part of
That's
the,
not, yeah. I mean, the reason why
that's the
this
same
plan,
as-
this doesn't really,
Following trapping new beaver, relocating into the area. Oh, into the same area? Okay, so they trap them and then put them back in?
Yeah, they take them out to lunch, right?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's illegal to
Second to last
move
paragraph. I think they put them back in the same area. I think
Yeah,
that's what they're trying to
I
say.
think you're correct. I don't think you're allowed to, like.
Yeah, you
You're
can't.
just allowed to kill them.
I am
Just allowed to trap them.
Well, no, you gotta get a permit for that.
Yeah.
Rather this than the alternative.
No assassinating beavers, right?
So trapping them and putting them back at a later date.
Yeah, I mean, this is a first one for me. I haven't done a beaver deceiver yet. I can tell you that Beaver Solutions has done
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of them, so whatever the local or state regulations are, that's what we're going to comply with.
Okay.
It's definitely something different.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a better long-term, solution.
And there's no moving parts,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
The difference, for your information, between what is there now and what this one is, the kind of pond leveler that was installed 10 or 11 years ago is a standpipe with holes in it, that the holes dictate what the level of currently the beaver dam is got a breach, meaning like a pipe through it, where this current one drains. The problem is when beavers hear running water, they go to it. And even though it had a cage around it, like a fenced cage, that deteriorated over time. And that's where, especially in the last 24 months, it's been all out clogged. So.
All right. So if there's no further discussion, this is a public hearing. I'll open up to the public, but not seeing anybody. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And could I have a motion to approve the notice of intent as discussed at this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we stay here for the
Yeah, I think so. I don't see anybody else, so might as well stay here.
All right.
Should we just skip to the minor modification?
Yeah.
I think that's being implied.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll suspend the rules to take M out of order.
I'll move on to agenda item M, minor modification, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., 1600 Main Street, Assessors Map 73, Lot 40, TP, file number 305-1139. Could you please introduce yourselves again for the record?
You bet. Jim Hanley, Civil Design Consultants.
Peter Graham, soldier on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we were in front of you, I think it might have even been the last meeting or the meeting before last, where we discussed a solution to dealing with the standing water that was a result of the beavers' activity, and that was to provide sheet piling, right? So this is not something that was even thought of when we got the original approval, or even when we were considering starting construction last spring, a year ago spring. But the beavers' activity made it so wet on site that as they began to excavate, they couldn't continue because of standing water. So the pictures that I just provided to you were taken on Monday. And you can see the line of sheet piling from a couple of different angles. You can see the standing water that we're contending with. You can also see there's a couple of shots of, it's basically a 24-inch HDPE pipe that's kind of stuck into the ground and standing up out of the ground. And those are the locations that we're hoping to be able to put pumps into those standpipes to allow us to pull groundwater out of this and dry this out so we can move the dirt around on the site. So step one is done. We put together a dewatering plan. I provided that I think it was like September 7th-ish, so about a week and a half ago, give or take. And essentially, what we are asking your permission for is allow us to make a temporary adjustment to the erosion control. Everything will be located beyond the 25-foot, no disturbance, but on the other side of the sheet piling. And we're limited as to where we can put this, because the idea here is that we pump out of those sumps up to basically a dewatering bag surrounded by hay bales, so that we get the water to filter out of the bag, filter through the hay bales, and then run down into the resource area and eventually out of the culvert. So there's a couple of things we need to make this work. One is the gravity, right? So that we don't want to pump water that we just pull from the ground directly into the wet, because you're going to have silt, right? So this removes, by pumping it into this basin, in this dewatering bag, surrounded by hay bales, you get the filtering that we need to remove a lot of this silt. And then at that point, you need the gravity to take it from the higher elevation down into the resource area and eventually into the, through the culvert. So to give you a sense, the culvert is located at elevation, I think it's like 82.9. I just cut it off on the viewport on sketch 2.1. But you have a sense for how this works. We got to be up a little bit higher so that we can allow it to filter down through. When we came to you with the update with the sheet piling and asked to make some minor adjustments to the erosion control line, we'd yet to have a plan for the dewatering. This got developed after that meeting, and we're here tonight to hopefully get your blessings so that we can, we're literally ready to go. Going to have the pumps running this week so that we be able to continue with the earthwork on Monday.
My only questions are, how far do the sheet pilings go down?
I think they range, but I think the deepest one was 25 feet.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so they pound these into the ground, and the idea is that not only is it going to protect from flow that comes above the ground, but below the ground. That's really what we want to isolate, so that we're not draining the wetland, right? And we have to do it once, as opposed to continuously. So once we drain out this 20,000 square foot, half acre area, it's done. We can hit it with the equipment, compact it, move the dirt around, get rid of the organics that are there and move forward.
Are those permanent? Or are
They are,
stay-
yeah,
all right.
yeah, yep,
Are you going to leave them?
yeah.
They are, yeah.
They're cheap.
They are, yeah, right.
And then also the silt that accumulates, where does that end up?
Okay, so the idea of that silt bag is, so basically, it goes from the hole in the ground, it's the standpipe, pump goes into that, it pumps it out, it goes into this basin, the pump actually connects to a bag, right? And then that filters, and then you also have the layer of hay bales that will filter. So the idea is that all of the silt, everything we can capture is going to be within that basin. So that will be cleaned out as needed. I don't know how long they anticipate to be dewatering, but that's going to be something that they'll have to keep an eye on and make sure that it stays within the basin itself. As it needs to be cleaned out, it's cleaned out, and, it's not put in the, it's put in the upland somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's cleaned out and taken off site?
No, not necessarily. I mean, they may be able to use it for dressing or something somewhere else, but we just can't have it under the building or under the parking lot areas. So it probably wouldn't be taken off site. I mean, it's just silty material.
All right, Joe, do you have any questions or comments?
So primary reason why I wanted to bring this in front of the commission is obviously it deviates from what was previously approved as far as the limit of work. So where this dewatering basin is proposed, it's still outside of the 25-foot no disturb zone based off that delineation. But again, nonetheless, it expands into the limit of work, so just getting the commission's blessing on that. Is it feasible to also have the filter bags placed on top of like a bed of riprap so you have some energy dissipation for just as added, especially because I know that's on a steep slope. So does that make sense to you? And is that feasible? Do you think that's?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about that last week in the sense that there's going to have to be, some work to get that sediment basin shaped correctly, right? So if you think it's appropriate to have 4-inch rock riprap at the bottom of it, I think that's kind of a reasonable approach.
Okay. And so, sorry, is this a constructed basin, or is this just the filter bags laying on top of the ground currently?
The important thing is that we want to have a volume below the elevation of the top of the hay bales. So at elevation 90, we have plenty of topographic relief for it to drain back out. So probably is cut back from into the hill, probably. But I think it's a means and methods thing. So I think when they're out there in the field, they're going to make a determination as to how that works best to make sure that the water continues to drain out of it. So it's in that same location, the exact bottom elevation or whatnot. I think that we need a little bit of flexibility in the field to make sure that we have enough head so it pushes through the bags.
Okay.
But it's not a permanent structure.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Outside of that, what I just stated, no. I think actually, just to condition it where notify me when the dewatering is happening, because I might want to observe it, just to see how it does and if there's silt getting through in large volumes. So that's it.
All right, you're comfortable with everything discussed?
Yep.
All right, in that case, could I have if there's no other discussion from the commission, could I have a motion to approve the minor modification?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Definitely a tough site.
We'll get there.
All right, agenda item L, minor modification, JJ Phelan and Son, Pringle Street culvert replacement, DEP file number 305-1147. Is there?
There's no one here for that project.
Can you fill us in on the details? There's so many people in the crowd right now.
So basically, they're proposing to expand the limit of work by 4 feet on either side. So this site is for a culvert replacement, so this would just involve more tree cutting, shrub cutting, et cetera, but I don't see an issue with it. They're expanding their limit of work. So I thought I'd bring it to the commission's attention.
They need more room to work.
Correct.
So on one side of this, there's no trees or anything. There's nothing there on one side.
Yeah, on the,
And then the other side is just all overgrown.
Yeah,
over the
exactly.
years.
Yep.
It's like, no, there's no significant trees or anything. It's just kind of brush that's grown up.
Yep. Well, there are some trees, but it's more so just once they've gone out to the site, the contractors themselves, they just need more space.
All right, if there's no further discussion, could I have a motion to approve the minor modification as discussed?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Agenda item N, emergency certification, Zaire Rahman and Shamir Ahmed near / within 130 Walnut Street, assessors map 69, lot 125. Joe, could you fill us in on the details?
Yep, so this is a tree cutting related emergency certification, so it's actually the removal of 4 trees. Has since been revised. But all 4 trees were visibly dead, dying, or decaying, covered in vines, or just obvious to me that they were not in good health. They're also close to this dwelling at 130 Walnut Road. So I issued the emergency certification with the conditions referenced in the document.
All right, any discussion, any questions or comments from the commission?
I'm good.
There's no further discussion. Could I have a motion to ratify the emergency certification?
No, I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, agenda item O, tree cutting discussion, 740 North Street, assessors map 51, lot 3. So we got an update from town council about how we could possibly, giving more insight on how we could proceed. Joe, do you want to fill us in on any more details?
Yeah, so the last time we discussed this, so just to fill in the commissioner real quick, so this is the tree cutting inquiry in between Germano Drive and Northgate Road. So 3 homeowners, from the looks of it, cut down trees on town-owned property. That property is under the Conservation Commission's management. So it's not like a jurisdictional area that we're dealing with. But anyways, we're just trying to come up with a way for them to restore these trees, this land. The last time we discussed this, the commission wanted to know what they could dig their heels into, essentially, if they provided pushback, like where our regulatory authority is coming from, because since it's not in a jurisdictional area, it's not coming from the Wetland Protection Act or our bylaw. So to answer that question, it would be coming from tort law, where it's just, you damaged my property, so I'm suing you in civil court to resolve this issue. So there isn't like a hard and fast regulation. It's handled like any other property damage. It would be tort law. So the last time we discussed this, I presented some different ways where the commission could kind of take this, where we could suggest them planting the same amount of shrubs and trees that were identified in this like control area that I had scoped out. But now I guess I just wanted the commission to discuss this openly, see what you guys were thinking, what the best next step is, potentially have them come in here, have a conversation with them to see, if they recognize their wrongdoing and if they're willing to work with us to develop some reasonable planting plan to bring that area back to its original condition. So I'll stop talking now.
So I was going to suggest that we ask them to plant similar style trees, at essentially a 1-to-1 ratio of what we can see. There's 2 on one property, 5 on one, and 8 on the other. And I don't see a reason to ask them to plant the exact same type of tree or, size, but like something in the neighborhood, obviously native to Massachusetts. And,
I think a replication is what you're,
Yeah, essentially, I was kind of hesitant to use a replication area because
well, I mean,
of
you
the
don't have to
different context, but it's
establish 40,
essentially.
50 year, but I also don't want them planting seedlings this
Yeah.
big either.
Yeah.
You know, we'll all be dead and buried by the time, you know, they're 10 feet tall. I think that, I think just asking them nicely,
Yeah,
you know, I don't know, me, you drag them in here, I don't know what sort of response you're gonna get. You know, you may just draft a letter and send it to them, say, hey, folks, you did this, what do you think? And the property now is clearly defined, so they don't think it's their property anymore. That seems to
Yeah.
be the issue here.
Yeah, yeah.
They were extending their yard they thought was theirs.
because the butter on the other side, did they make a comment about like, this is supposed to be a buffer, a noise buffer or something, or a site buffer? I forget exactly how it was described, but, you know, there's a purpose. It's not just there's already trees there. Like there is a reason why this piece of open space exists right there.
Yeah, I think that was to,
And also to get the lot configurations correct, right?
yeah, to get the lot configurations correct, like you had to have a certain amount of open space land for the division, or the subdivision or something, but I think the residents on Northgate Road interpreted that strip of land as like a buffer in between their backyard and the backyards of Germano Drive. But
Can we, I know there's a town arborist, could we ask for advice as to what should be planted there and what would do well there and, you know, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same trees. The climate's changing, maybe there's things that are more heat resistant or insect resistant or, and present a plan to the homeowners and say, this is what we want to see.
So one, we have a tree warden. We used to have an arborist who was a former DPW director. So our current DPW director is a tree warden who I'm not sure has that qualification to like make those recommendations and such. The second thing is, if we don't want them coming in here to, because we're not sure what backlash or whatever we're gonna have, what do we want to send to them? Like, what is the plan that we want to send to them? Like, you have to plant 10 to 15 trees, or is it just like, hey, we recognize you did this, you come up with your own plan to?
Yeah, I let them come up with their own plan. You took down 8, you took down 2. And like Steve said, I don't want a little sapling, you know?
Right. I just think you're gonna get a better reaction if you do it in a friendly manner, other than, you know, hitting them with a hammer.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's a very serious offense, you know, triple
Yeah.
damages, but we don't want to go that route.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
that's,
but we,
Yeah, exactly.
you like your statement, did they recognize the error of their ways? Did they think it was their property?
it's very understandable that they
And I-
would think it's their property. Like,
And that's where I'm, you know, if it's clearly defined now, you know, it's staked, then this should be the end of it.
yeah, so, I mean, I think a letter to the effect of, please come up with a replication plan of similar trees of, I don't know, you know, not tiny saplings, but something that has a chance to actually take. And if they, you know, invite them, if they are totally against that idea, then they can come and talk to us about it. But if they're
I mean, I
okay
like
with
it.
that.
I think,
you know.
I think something that's hardy, you know, a tree that's, you know, native. But I'm, you know, I'm not a tree guy. I mean, most of the stuff was probably pine or oak.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's why I did that control area, to see like what would have been there if they didn't do anything. So it is, yeah, white pine, red maple, black cherry, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I think you're right as far as write them a letter, see what they offer, and see what happens.
Yeah, because that sets the tone.
okay. So it's gonna be, like, we recognize this happened. We're just looking for some reasonable, I'll put it in nicer words, but just reparations of what was done. If you guys have any questions as far as like what we're looking for, you're more than welcome
Then they
to.
can easily, if they volunteer to come in, they,
I think what you just said, reasonable.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be unreasonable.
oh, no, we're just trying to say, hey, kind of
Yeah.
Okay.
fix it
Sounds
best you
good.
can.
Do we have the lot plans, or was it just the overhead from like Google?
Yeah,
Earth?
it's just the
Yeah,
overhead.
because even something like that, if, you're showing like, these are the pilings, it doesn't have to be a certified plot plan or anything, just overhead roughly where they think the trees can go and what type they plan on.
Make it simple, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
All right.
gonna go to the bathroom real quick
All right.
for the record.
So the next item on the agenda is the public hearing, proposed amendments to the Tewksbury Wetland Protection Regulations. So essentially, to fill everybody in on the details, we presented it to the select board, but they want to see more outreach to the community. So it's not going to make it into this town meeting, but I think we're just going to do a few information sessions and let everybody know, do some email blasts, do some, other ways of getting feedback. Because it's been on the agenda for quite some time, but we haven't seen anybody come, so it will be that much.
Basically, give it enough time where if we don't get feedback, we just proceed.
Yeah, I think so. If,
That's what they're looking for.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, if we'll do the presentations, and it will be separate from, our meetings and stuff. I was thinking, doing at the library or something, and just going over the major changes and, the minor changes. There's not, it looks pretty complicated.
Do a music night when they have the bands out there. A captive audience.
Yeah. I mean, the concerts at the library, those get pretty popular. So before the Beatles cover band goes on, we'll present for.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
10 minutes and you're ready, check the box, right?
I was just filling in them on the details that the select board wants to see a little bit more public outreach. So that's still all, we haven't decided how that will happen and stuff, but if anybody has any input about what works from their point of view, by all means, we can, figure something out.
So this is, if you're on agenda item P,
Yes,
yeah, so this was intended for the regulations.
yeah,
Bylaw. And so this was the public hearing to amend that, but the regulations are predicated on the bylaw being passed, so because of last night, we still have to open it's still a public
Yeah.
hearing, so we still have to open the public hearing, close the public hearing, but I don't think it's appropriate, obviously, to amend the regulations without the
Yeah.
bylaw concurrently happening, so.
So in that case, I will open the public hearing, give everybody some time to line up and make their comments, but not seeing anybody, could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And then we could, no, I'll say that. Could I have a motion to, I guess, table the proposed amendments to the Tewksbury Wetland Protection by regulations until the next appropriate meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. All right, finally, agenda item Q, Shawshene River Habitat Enhancement, Assessors Map 111, Lot 34, and 35. Joe, could you fill us in?
Yep, so there's an organization called Zoo New England that's planting or wants to plant like 100 to 200 shrubs and trees along the Shawshene River for some habitat enhancement. So per wetland protection regulation in our bylaw, the planting native vegetation is exempt. I think it's a good project. I think they may cut down some select trees within the river, but it's an overall benefit. I don't see an issue with that. Yeah, just letting the commission know. That's basically it. All the access is going to be from the Andover side. So it's just the Shawshene River benefiting in Tewksbury.
They just go down in a canoe and plant bushes?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Any trees that they cut down are left in place, right?
Yeah.
All right. If there's no discussion on that, that's not even a motionable effect, I believe. All right, so any old business, new business, or administration?
So the agenda was recently updated today based off of what happened yesterday at the select board. So the bylaw change was proposed as an article, but because the select board voted to not adopt it because of the public outreach matter, it's still up to the commission whether to continue forward to town meeting with the bylaw. Probably doesn't make sense because you don't have to, know that they don't have the support of the select board. So, the commission either votes on, or the commission votes on whether to withdraw that article from town meeting. So I would recommend doing so, because it would just be a lot if we went forward without the select board approval, and then that would probably cause more questions and just more confusion for residents, I suppose.
And to be clear, the select board wasn't like, oh, we don't like this. It was pretty much the only thing they said was the public outreach portion of it.
Yeah, they're very supportive.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, I'm totally up for doing some.
I think we do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that way we have 6 months or a year to, because it,
Yeah.
didn't the warrant come out today? The town,
I don't know about today, but recently.
Yeah.
I think I saw.
They voted on everything yesterday. So I don't know if it would come out already, if that's already approved or not, but.
But I think we withdraw it and then we go by the recommendation.
So,
So what's the timeline if we withdraw it, and what does adequate public engagement mean?
they didn't say like an
Had
exact
it on our
number.
agenda for 3 months.
Yeah, and that's, I guess that's what I'm kind of worried about, is that like, we did have it on the agenda, but like, we don't get a ton of people coming here just to view our exciting meetings and stuff. But we can certainly do more public outreach and different means of communication.
Ask one question. I know, Joe, you did a public, for realtors.
Oh, yeah.
What was the turnout on that?
It was actually really good, but I don't think people turned out for conservation purposes. I think there's.
No, but I'm just saying, if we were gonna do if something like that was could have happened again, could you pony
Yeah.
something like that on it?
Yeah, so we would just use different public outreach mechanisms. So instead of just posting it on our agenda, it would be doing a press release, doing like an email blast. Our town planner is really good at doing that stuff. So, so I would probably coordinate with her because she's familiar with the methods to kind of get the word out.
Gotcha.
So we'd probably just follow the same steps in order to do that.
So we're just looking to get any sort of input, hopefully, because it seems pretty.
I don't even think it's about, we certainly want
Yeah.
input, but it's about just rather than only publicizing it in our agendas where only people are gonna see it or people that are already here or focused on conservation, is just kind of just spreading it out everywhere to everyone in the town.
I get it.
As much as we can.
I'm-
We'll probably do like 2 or 3, probably 3, like info sessions.
Do you have like a one-pager that we could easily send out that people could?
Yeah, so we
digest?
prepared stuff for this town meeting as far as like just high-level major changes, which is
Yeah.
a 2-pager, so.
Close enough.
And then there's a bunch of stuff on our website as far as like a side-by-side comparison, the actual proposed bylaw and regulations and stuff. So that's all available on our website. But yeah, to answer your question, yes. Jeez. Stop talking.
So you have all the materials. You're not going to have to go develop new materials. It's just a matter of getting them out to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of dull reading. right?
Yeah.
So what's the timeline if we withdraw, I guess, to that question?
So we would just prepare for the next town meeting in 6 months, so the warrants in
What,
February.
May, something around there?
Well,
Every 6 months, right?
Yeah, the next town meeting's May something.
I believe the deadline is
March,
February,
is it?
end of February to get stuff in.
So, 3 or 4 months
Yeah.
from now, yeah. I'm good.
All right.
So make that motion.
Yeah, so could I have a motion to withdraw the bylaw to, as a
Which is Article 20.
Article 20 from the town meeting agenda? Or to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. And if
You would drag you.
if we didn't do that correctly, I'm already going to go to town meeting, and I've already been discussing.
I already know where you're getting your spanking.
I was already planning on withdrawing it formally at town meeting, so it's not like, if we didn't make that motion.
Yeah, but let's do it now and.
Yeah.
That's the
create less
best public
drama.
engagement, though. Saying it in front of everyone at town meeting.
Yeah,
I was a bad boy.
we are on TV. All right.
Not public engagement enough.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
See, this is why people need to come out for these things. We're the fun.
We're half comedy.
Yeah. We think we're funny. All right. If there's no other new business, old business, admin reports, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
Right, Cramp Joe?